Hey everyone, Jay Whitner here with Space Headlines. We do a quick recap each week of what's going on in the space universe. And today we're going to be talking about the third week of November 2018. Our first item is SpaceX. SpaceX has won the FCC approval for their Starlink constellation satellites. If you're not familiar with this, it is a really audacious plan featuring 7,000 satellites in very low Earth orbits and in a wide variety of inclinations to provide broadband internet for the entire planet. So congratulations to Elon Musk and SpaceX for getting this approval, and I look forward to seeing this happen. We had a launch of the Antares rocket. The Antares rocket launched carrying a Cygnus spacecraft up into orbit. The contents of the Cygnus spacecraft were supplies and experiments for the International Space Station. A couple of the interesting aspects of this particular mission is it carried the refabricator. And what this is there's a lot of waste plastics on the International Space Station, packaging materials and so forth. So the refabricator takes these pieces of waste plastic and turns them into filament for 3D printers. So it's space recycling. The other item that I thought was interesting was an experiment from the Michael J. Fox Foundation, and it was about developing a cure for Parkinson's aboard the International Space Station. So I hope that certainly both of these projects go well, and we look forward to seeing what the results are. Elon Musk made a very interesting announcement that they are accelerating the development of the BFR system. Now, I keep calling it the BFR. It's, I guess, the upper stage. It's now officially the Starship. But at any rate, they're accelerating the development, and perhaps this is tied into their securing a recent loan from Bank of America for $250 million. And he's also reiterated the position that they don't plan to do any more work on development of the Falcon 9 Block 5 or any other iterations. So the design basically of the Falcon 9 is now locked in, and future developments are focused on the BFR. Momentus raised some capital, a little bit over $8 million, to develop a space tug. This is something that's been advocated for a long time on the Integrated Space Plan and other space architecture experts to have things in space that are reusable, that can move things around in space. This particular design uses water plasma thrusters, and it's going to be tested very soon in like a demo mode next year. And it should go into operation by 2020 for very small payloads, gradually scaling up to moving, say, 500-pound payloads or so in space, which will be a giant leap forward. So congratulations to them, and certainly best of luck. Virgin Orbit made another milestone along their development path. Their 747 took flight carrying one of their Launcher One rockets aboard. This is what's called a captive carry flight test. The rocket, the Launcher One, is supposed to be developed such that it'll be flying next year in an operational mode, and the payload that it can carry is up to 1,100 pounds into orbit. So it's a substantial amount of weight, and there's a lot of extra flexibility in launching using an aircraft as your first stage, or some people call it a half stage, because it allows you to launch into different inclinations, gives a lot of extra flexibility. NASA is doing more thinking about returning to the moon. And what this article is about is they've come up with a concept for a 3-stage lunar lander design. Designs have been advocated that are 1 stage, 2 stage, or 3 stages. The big benefit of 3 stages is each individual component is much smaller and lighter, so it can be carried on a wider variety of rockets. This was discussed at length at a recent League meeting. This is the Lunar Exploration Analysis Group. So they were looking at this, and they think that this is probably the way to go. They're not quite committed yet, but it looks like we're going to have a 3-stage lunar lander is quite likely. We have some interesting news on ion propulsion. This is a mechanism that's not used for launching things from Earth. It's an in-space transportation system that offers very high miles per gallon. It's a very efficient drive if you have a long time to work with because the thrust is very low. This startup, Apollo Fusion, wants to develop a new type of ion drive that uses mercury instead of krypton or xenon as its fuel. This would be able to develop a lot more thrust because mercury is much heavier than xenon. So this could be a breakthrough for maneuvering around in our solar system. And we hope that Apollo Fusion proceeds to develop this, and this becomes an asset for deep space probes. Our last piece of this coverage is about the Crew Dragon by SpaceX. This is part of the Commercial Crew program. And the schedule is it's supposed to have its first test flight in January without any crew aboard. And then in the summertime, it would have a flight with crew aboard in summer of 2019 is the notional schedule right now. Commercial Crew has the SpaceX competitor and the Boeing competitor. Boeing has very similar timelines for what they're doing for their uncrewed and crewed missions. And Boeing right now is roughly 2 months behind SpaceX in both the uncrewed and the crewed situation. So hopefully this will move forward on time because we really need to get Americans launching from American shores once again. And the Russians have had some issues with some of their spacecraft. And there's always interesting political things going on as well. So it would really be nice to have our own capability to launch our astronauts up into space. That's it for Space Headlines, covering the third week of November 2018. And we'll see you in a week or so with coverage of the fourth week of November. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you then.